Welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show, where we talk all things vegan. If you're not already vegan, no worries, we'll get you there. If you are, tune in for health advice, information on climate change, and all the damage done by our most destructive industry, animal agriculture. We'll also talk cooking, theater, film, and culture. My 2 reasons for starting this podcast: to entertain, to inform, and to make people vegan. Oh, that's 3. Shit. Welcome to the Glenn Mercer Show. You could find us across all your favorite podcast platforms. You could find us on YouTube. And please remember to subscribe. And you could find us at realmeneatplants.com. What follows here is a recording of a show that was done about a year ago, a little less than that, maybe, on something called the Plant Powered Passport. It's a talk by the great health coach Maxime Sigouin, talking about how to shift your body composition. So watch this and learn from Max. This show is sponsored now by firstseedfoods.com. That's healthy Indian food without the butter, oil, or ghee. It is gluten-free, it is optionally salt-free, and it is always delicious. Enter Glenn10 at checkout for $10 off your first order. That's firstseedfoods.com. And now enjoy Maxime Sigouin, how to shift your body composition. Hello and welcome to the Plant Powered Passport. I'm Glenn Mercer, your host, and we have a very special show today. Maxime Sigouin is the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Coaching, a company that's on a mission to help 10,000 people get lean, thrive, and reduce their risk of chronic diseases. And he's hoping to do that in the next 10 years. You can find Maxime at fitvegancoaching.com. And he's going to be presenting today, I believe, a presentation that he's doing for the first time, which is called How to Shift Your Body Composition on a Plant-Based Lifestyle. Maxime, it's all yours.
Thank you, Glenn. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. Perfect. Well, let's dive into it. I built you guys a little presentation and we're going to go very in depth. So if you want to take some notes, feel free to take some notes. There's going to be QR codes that you can scan because I'm going to give you some free workouts and free resources throughout the presentation. And so, yeah, we can just transition to the presentation. Perfect. So we're going to talk about how to shift your body composition on a whole food, plant-based lifestyle. So shifting your body composition is simply changing 2 variables in your body. There's your lean muscle mass and there's the amount of body fat on your body. We want to lower the body fat and increase the amount of lean muscle mass. And as we get older, those tend to go in the opposite direction. So people tend to lose lean muscle mass and increase in body fat. So we're going to go the opposite direction. And today we'll share everything that you need to know to make that happen, plus some free resources that you will be able to implement after this presentation is done. All right, so let's get into it. So just officially, for those guys that don't know me, I am Maxime Sigouin. I'm the founder and CEO of Fit Vegan Blueprint at fitvegancoaching.com. I started it after I lost my late partner to breast cancer well over 3 years ago because I didn't want people to end up in the same position as she was in. I'm an international speaker, host of the Fit Vegan podcast. That's why I have such a cool background. I've done over 25 plus different triathlon, Ironmans, 70.3. I've done bodybuilding, powerlifting, cycled from Vancouver to San Francisco to raise money for cancer patients. And so far, I've helped transform over 750 plus people in 20 different countries. So I know a little something about helping people transform. And I've been vegan for almost a decade now in November. So it's a little bit about me. We need to add a photo in there of Glenn and Brian when we meet at an event. So ultimately, I'm on a mission to help 10,000 people get lean, thrive, and disease-proof their body on plants by 2033 and 1 million by 2050. So everything I'm going to share with you today is for that purpose. I just want to show you a few examples of what is possible because a lot of people think that with their current genetic makeup, their situation, or their age, or their health condition, that it's not possible. As you can see here, there's just a few of the transformations, but the majority of the people that we work with are between 45 and 80 plus years old. And so even at that age, with a lot of them dealing with, chronic illnesses, with some injuries, with years of yo-yo dieting, they've been able to transform their body. So I just want you to know that it's possible for you as well. And it's not meant just for the 20-year-old young buck out there that's looking to get a six pack, right? There's some life-changing information I'm about to share with you. So today we're going to break it down in 4 core pillars. So the first pillar is going to be mindset. The second one is going to be recovery, and then nutrition, and then training at the end. The reason why we're starting with mindset is because I can give you all the information that you need for your nutrition and your training. And if you don't do anything with it, you won't get any form of results and transformation. So I need to make sure your mind is set right to take action on the information you're going to be getting today. So the first thing we want to do to set your mindset up to succeed is it's not about who goes the fastest, but the one who slows down the least. If you've ever done any form of endurance race, you know you can't sprint a marathon. You know you can't sprint an Ironman. And the one that wins or that does the best is the one that slows down the least, because it is painful the whole way through. So what we want is, you don't want that to be you. You don't want to be burned out. And that tends to be most people during, January and February month. They're like, this year is going to be the year that I'm going to change my life. I'm going to go to gym every day for an hour every day. I'm not going to eat processed food. I'm only going to eat healthy food. And they go too hard when their current lifestyle and habits are not set up for them to be able to do that sustainably. And then they burn out. And usually that's when the gyms kind of empty out around March. So we don't want that to be you. We want this to be you. So we want you to pace yourself, so that you're able to have an incredible transformation. Because at the end of the day, it's not about improving your body composition to lose 20 pounds, 40 pounds, 60 pounds, 100 plus pounds for a few months. Like, who cares about you losing 40 pounds only if you're only going to keep it off for 3 months? The goal is to keep it off for the rest of your life. So you need to develop the sustainable habits to make that happen. And that only takes place when you pace yourself. So no sprinting here. Now, so setting up your mindset to succeed, one thing that we tell a lot of our clients is to win the next meal. So this is a little video, but I think it's going to mess up if I click on the video to watch it. But it's a clip from Talladega Night with Will Ferrell when he gets into a car accident and car goes on fire, and he thinks that it's paralyzed. Mind you, it's a stupid movie. It's Will Ferrell that's in it. Basically, he's in the hospital. He thinks that his legs don't work anymore. And his friends are like, the doctor said, you're fine. There's nothing wrong with you. And he basically grabs a kitchen knife because he had his food beside him. He's like, you think I'm fine? If my legs weren't paralyzed, I wouldn't feel this. And he basically stabs himself in the leg with the knife, pauses for 2 seconds, and starts screaming. And so what self-sabotage looks like is what his friends are doing after. His friends are in there adding knives to trying to remove the first knife, and his friends adding a fork to trying to remove the second knife that they added, right? So at the end of the day, self-sabotage is you making the situation worse where you can just remove the knife. So when you go off track with your nutrition, stop it there. Focus on winning the next meal. There's no need to go, well, oh, I went off track with my nutrition. Let me just go eat a full bag of chips now. So at the end of the day, if you just focus on winning the next meal, you'll be able to get back faster on track and get better results faster. So I invite you to watch that clip if you have a chance. It's really funny. But self-sabotage looks like adding another knife in the hole to try to remove the first knife. You just pulled the first knife out in the first place. Now, the other part for mindset, you need to be kind to yourself. You're going to be your own worst critic, right? All the people around you that love you will support you in changing these habits. You're the one that's going to be the harshest on yourself. So give yourself some grace, because again, if you have, depending on how much weight you have to lose, depending on how many years you've done yo-yo dieting, depending on how long you've struggled with your weight, again, you might be setting yourself up for failure with the mindset you're going into it. So just understand that it's not going to be perfect the whole way through. We're going to focus on progression over perfection. And then if you go off track, it's okay. You just need to focus on winning the next meal and winning the next workout. You're the only person that can literally prevent you from reaching your goal in this scenario. So lastly, I'm going to end with this. This is an equation that's been really powerful for me in my life. I actually have it tattooed on my arm. E plus R equals O equals event plus response equals outcome. So what that means is that you're responsible for 100% of the outcome that happened in your life, because you chose how you responded to the event. So an event is presented to you, you get a diagnosis, you go off track with your nutrition, whatever it may be, you choose how you respond to that with that R. You can react or you can respond, which will give you a very different outcome. A funny example that I like to give is, you come home, your partner comes home from work and they had a rough day at work, and you say, "Hey, my love, I hope you had a great day," and they say something snappy, the R is you choose how you respond. You can say something snappy. Guess who's sleeping on the couch? That's your outcome. Or you can choose to respond and be like, oh, they had a really long day. Let me make them a nice warm bath and cook them dinner. You'll have a very different outcome at the end of the day. Same event, very different outcome because of how you responded. So the same thing goes for your nutrition and your fitness and your transformation. All right. So, any questions so far? I kind of put a little question segments after every component. So, if there's any questions, we can leave them in the chat and we'll be sure to answer those. Perfect. So, optimizing your recovery. So, going to pillar number 2. So, this tool for your recovery is more powerful than any drug in the world, and that is sleep. Sleep is your superpower. There is nothing more powerful on earth when it comes to helping you recover, to build lean muscle, help you improve your metabolic rate, help you improve healing your body, whatever it may be. So, getting a good night of sleep, which is something that most people will put on the side because they say that they don't have the time. So, these devices, like I don't have it right here, your phone, your laptop, your iPad, Netflix, whatever it may be, a lot of times is a thing that's stealing time away from your sleep. So if you're able to get yourself in a nice little sleep routine, and you're able to add that extra 30 minutes, that extra hour of sleep, I promise you're going to wake up feeling more rested and recovered the next day. And one of the things is if you are underslept, guess what's going to happen the next day? You're going to be low in energy, and that comes with higher levels of craving because your body didn't get enough energy restored through your night of sleep. And so it's going to crave foods that are really high in energy because foods that are high in energy will give your body energy. Guess what that looks like? Foods that are high in sugar, foods that are high in fat. That's why you have craving for unhealthy foods when you don't have a good night of sleep. So set yourself up for success and get a good night of sleep. Now, there's 4 easy ways that you can improve them. One of them is track it. So if you know you're doing a good job or not, right? So what Calvin is, you can't measure it, you can't improve it. So if you have a Fitbit, an Apple Watch, an Oura-ring, a Whoop, a Garmin, whatever device, they do track your sleep, and they just give you some feedback as to, hey, did you spend enough time in bed? All right. Um, one of the ones we recommend for a client is Whoop, right? So if you want to use this link here, it saves you money on it. But again, you don't have to. Just a cheap Fitbit will do the job. So I'm trying to not click on this link. Perfect. So 2, you want to bring your wake time and bedtime within an hour of variability. So what that means is we all know about the circadian rhythm. So if you normally go to bed at 10 p.m. and wake up at 6 a.m., for example, you ideally want to stay within 1 hour of that bedtime and that wake time. They've found that that was the biggest thing that would affect the quality of your sleep and the level of energy you would have on a day-to-day basis is if that was completely thrown off. Meaning if you go to bed at 10 p.m. on one day, wake up at 6 a.m. And then the next night you go to bed at 1 a.m. and then you wake up at 8 a.m. Even though you're still going to get your full hours of sleep, because it's all over the place, it's going to mess up with your circadian rhythm, which is going to mess up with your energy, your cravings, and ultimately your gut health as well. So try to stay within 1 hour of bedtime and wake up time. A third one, and that one's been really good for me personally, a lot of our clients, is get blackout curtains. Turn the temperature down between 63 and 69 degrees, and no cell phones, iPad, or laptop in the bedroom. Because when your eyes are exposed to that blue light, it tells your brain that it's daytime. So your brain has your eyes and your skin has these sensors on the body that are always looking to know, is it daytime or is it nighttime? And so blackout curtains will remove the light from your bedroom. I got some masking tape that I put on, the fan that's in my bedroom to kind of remove the light. If you turn the temperature down, there's been studies on this. You burn an additional 140 calories per night, but that's not the reason why we do it. Is because your core temperature has to drop down a little bit in order to fall into deep sleep. So you're just kind of speeding up that process. And then no cell phones, iPad, or laptop in the bedroom. Ultimately, just allow your brain to kind of relax and detach from all the notifications and the blue light. And then lastly, stop eating ideally 3 hours before bedtime, and stop caffeine 10 to 12 hours before bedtime. Yes, even green tea, just because your body can't digest and recover at the same time. And so if you have a big meal really close to bedtime, your body is not going to not digest the food to prioritize your recovery while you're sleeping, because it can't let food sit undigested in your stomach through a whole night of sleep. And so it's going to prioritize digestion. Then when it's done digestion, then it's going to start the recovery process that you would have during the nighttime. And that's why if you have a bigger meal or a meal closer to bedtime, you may wake up feeling groggy the next day because you didn't actually have a full night of sleep. Which ultimately, if you wake up feeling groggy, more likely to make a bad decision with food, more likely to skip on a workout. So if you stop eating 3 hours before bedtime, you have enough time to digest. It is not for fat loss reasons or anything like that. It is purely so you can get a good night of sleep and have time to digest your food. Caffeine, the half-life is about 10 to 12 hours. So if you consume 200 milligrams of caffeine at noon, at midnight, you have 100 milligrams left in your body. So half the amount is left. So what I recommend is you want to have your caffeine earlier in the day, and that's not going to affect your sleep at nighttime. Because some people will think that they can have a bigger coffee in the morning. It was like if you have 400 milligrams in the morning, 12 hours later, you have 200 milligrams left in your body. So you want to be mindful of the dose that you are consuming. And that's made a huge difference on people's quality of sleep that we work with. Now, a big one is stretching and mobility. So, stretching and mobility is extremely important in terms of reducing the risk of injury, increasing your range of motion on the exercise. So, some of you that are potentially not used to doing your squat, as you try to do a squat right now, maybe your ankles are too tight, your knees, your hip flexors, and your back, you're not able to do the exercise properly, which will increase your risk of injury. It'll enhance flexibility, which will allow you to not get injured when you're living your day to day life. We've all been there when our back is tight and we bend down to tie our shoes or grab something and you pull something in your back. That would be one of the reasons. Improve circulation in the body. Again, easing on back pain improves your posture and improves your breathing, which is really important because a lot of chronic illnesses in the body, for example, cancer, love an environment where there's a lack of oxygen. And so having an oxygenated body is really powerful in terms of fighting some of these diseases that are in the body. So stretching mobility, I did a free routine that you can follow at your home or at the gym. And so it's a link on the video. So maybe Brian, we can grab the presentation after. All these images are clickable, so you can just click on it and you'll have access to the routine for free. Little mobility routine you can do at home. So in terms of a bonus one, that one's not for everyone because not everyone's going to want to do it. But cold exposure and sauna has a lot of benefits. So that it could literally be you stepping into an ice bath or doing a cold shower or going to the sauna at the gym or if you have one at your house. Here are a few benefits. Again, it improves circulation in the body, it reduces inflammation in the body, it boosts your metabolism, it relieves stress, it supports your lymphatic system, and it builds mental resilience. So supporting the lymphatic system is really important if you're actively looking to shift your body composition, because when there's toxins that come into your body every day, and there are from pollution, drinking from plastic water bottles, whatever it may be, bad skincare, makeup, things like that, those toxins are coming into your body. And in order to protect your main organs, your body is going to flush some of them out, which is why it's important for you to eat fiber and drink water. But it's also going to store some of them into the fat into your fat to protect your main organs. But when we're looking to shift our body composition, we're actively trying to burn fat and get rid of it. So what happens when we're burning fat? We're also releasing some of those toxins in the body. And so again, drinking enough water and eating enough fiber is important to flush out some of those toxins. But doing that hot to cold treatment, what happens when you go into a cold environment is all the blood will rush closer to your organs because it think that you fell in a lake in the middle of North Pole, in the ocean middle of North Pole. So rush all the bloods around your organ as a survival mechanism to try to keep it warm as long as possible. But it doesn't know that you're in a controlled environment. So when you step back out into a warm temperature, the blood will rush back out. And that movement of blood flow is able to move those toxins out of your body more easily. So very beneficial for your lymphatic system. All right. So an actionable plan, a lot of people ask about this. Again, you can take a warm shower for 30 seconds, then move to 30 seconds cold, and then repeat 1 to 5 times. Or you can take your shower warm the whole time and end with cold for 30 seconds, or start with cold and end with warm. Or you can do it my way, where I just take a cold shower the whole way through. I never turn it on to hot, even during the winter. So just a few ways that you guys can kind of give it a shot at home. So any questions about recovery? Again, you guys can leave them in the chat section below here. I see that there is one. I'm just trying to get to the chat right here. It is a good way to idea to end with a warm shower to let the water get cold for as long as you can take it. Is it good at the end of a warm shower to let the water get cold for as long as you can? Yeah, for sure. It'll take a while to kind of cool down after a warm shower. But the benefits of ending cold is that you will let your body naturally warm up, and there's a lot of benefits to that. again, reducing inflammation, but also it helps to boost natural collagen production in the body. So it actually helps with skin elasticity and skin youthness. And so, yeah, ending cold is really powerful. Get it as cold as you can, as long as you can take it. Basically, is kind of the rule. All right, perfect. So now let's move to optimizing your nutrition for body recomposition. So it's probably where the majority of you guys are here because we're focusing on whole food, plant based eating. So I'm just giving an example. This is my mom on the left side when she first started with me, and this is her on the right side now. She lost over 50 pounds with us at 58 years young and has kept it off for over 4 years by doing the things that I'm about to share with you. All right. So, regardless of your age, you're going to be able to do this. So, now let's get the basics out of the way that you already know, because I don't want to spend too much time on those. Right. You know that you can eat a diversity of food for your gut health. It's really important. You know that eating organic as much as possible is good. I would respect a dirty dozen list. So those are the foods that are the highest in pesticide that would be the most ideal to buy organic. So if you can't buy everything organic, at least eat the foods that are on this list, these 12 things, organic, and then the rest wouldn't matter as much. As I said, these 12 things contain the highest amount of pesticides. So I want to keep it as clean as possible ultimately. So again, we already know these things. Those are the basics. Now let's get into the fundamentals of nutrition for body recomposition. You have a few photos here of women at different body fat percentage. So what I want to say here is that on the corner right side, the woman that is 50% or more, her body did that because it is wired for survival. So, from a survival standpoint, the person on the bottom right side will survive longer because it has more fat to live on if it doesn't have access to food. Again, our bodies haven't become accustomed yet to the fact that there's a whole food, the fact that you can Instacart food to your house, the fact that you can go to Uber Eats. So, your body stores fat on your body as future fuel for when you don't have access to food, but it just doesn't know that there's food in abundance around us. Like the body hasn't gotten accustomed to the evolution of mankind so far. And so the more body fat you have in your body, the longer you survive. This little side tangent. I grew up a redneck. So I grew up on a farm. We did hunting and had our own animals in our farm and all that. Very similar story to Robert Cheek. But we used to watch these survival shows when I grew up. And the person that came on the show that was, for example, my body fat percentage, and the person that came on the show that was maybe 40% body fat percentage or 30% body fat percentage, guess who lasted the longest? Because they had to hunt their food, they had to pick their food, they had to try to survive as long as possible. The one that was the skinniest went away the fastest and often were pulled out for medical reason because it didn't have enough fuel to last a long time. That's the situation for which our body was wired. And the person that came in with a higher body fat percentage had more fuel to live off of. And so just I'm sharing this for you to understand that the more body fat you have in your body is a survival mechanism for an old environment that we no longer live in. We live in a new environment which requires a new method to deal with it, which are the things that I'm sharing with you today. All right. So, fundamentals of nutrition, your body's wired for survival. We just covered that. So, body composition and healthy rules. There's different ways to improve your body composition, and not all of them are healthy. So, one is you can focus on diversity of plant based foods, and you can eat whole food plant based, and you're going to be healthy. Most people end up skinny fat, though, right? With that situation. I'll explain why shortly. The other scenario is you can focus on your protein and your calories, obviously in combination with resistance training, and you're going to look fit. So if you're in a calorie deficit and you hit your protein and you do some strength training, you will look fit. But if your calories are composed of, again, animal based foods, processed foods, all of these things, you're going to look fit and people are going to think you're healthy, but you're not actually. Internally, you won't be. And so, what we want is we want to focus on our protein per day. We want to focus on our calories. We want to focus on diversity of food and eating whole food plant based. That's how you become a fit vegan. So, the protein and the calories are the things that are going to help you shape your body, and the diversity of plants and whole food plant based are the things that are going to make you healthy. So we need to combine both worlds together to get the outcome that we want. And it's very easy to do. So now we're going to determine our calorie deficit and our protein targets. So calorie deficit and protein target. So there's this calculator here, tdeecalculator.net. Again, this is clickable. We'll have it for you guys in the presentation after. Or if Brian, you just want to grab it and put it in the chat, whatever is easiest for people. Again, I'm not going to click on it because it's just going to open a different page. But once you're on there, you're going to enter your age, your height, your current level of activity, and your weight. If you currently have your body fat percentage, that's great additional information, but it's not mandatory. From there, once you punch that in, it will give you a number of calories that you're supposed to be consuming per day to maintain your calories. You may be really under from it, you may be over from it, or you might be kind of exactly where you're at. So, from that number, what we want to do is we want to create a little deficit. So, we want to remove between 250 calories to 400 calories max to get started. Honestly, I would much prefer if you stick around that 250 to 300 calorie deficit to get started, because every deficit that you make, your body has to adjust to. And so if you make a big deficit up front, sorry, your body will get adjusted to it as fast as possible. So you won't get as much change from it. What I mean by that is if I create a 200 calorie deficit for a month and then 100 the next month and 100 the next month, we will have created a 400 calorie deficit over the course of 3 months. And you'll probably be able to lose, like, again, depending on how much you weigh right now, but 10 to 20 pounds, 30 pounds on that. Versus if you initially create a 400 calorie deficit, your body will try to adjust to it as fast as possible. And you may be able to lose only 10 pounds from it. So it's much better to go slower, and it allows you to preserve more lean muscle mass. But it does require you to be patient and to not see the scale drop significantly within your first week or first month of transformation. But it's normal because we're looking to build muscle, which is heavier, and we're looking to lose fat. And so if you lose 1 pound of fat, but you put on 1 pound of muscle, guess what's going to show on the scale? 0 pound difference. You might be disappointed that you didn't see any difference on the scale, but guess what? That's tremendous progress to put on 1 pound of muscle and lose 1 pound of fat. It's just about shifting the priorities and the focus a little bit. Now, for your protein, I used to have the equation in kilograms, but I converted it to pounds and grams for you guys. So aim for 0.73 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So if you're currently overweight, just grab your ideal body weight, right? So if you're 100 pounds, it would be 73 grams of protein per day, right? And if you are 200 pounds, it would be 146 grams of protein per day. My math should be right. Yeah, 146 grams of protein per day. So you can see if you're 200 pounds, 146 grams of protein, it's not as much as people say that you need. So it's important to hit that number, even though it might be a little bit more than you would potentially eat if you weren't focusing on it. But putting that awareness on the protein is the thing that's going to allow you to repair the lean muscle tissue that you're going to be tearing when you're going to be doing your resistance training, which is the last component we're going to talk about shortly. All right. So, two things need to happen in order for you to shift your body composition. You have to lose fat and build muscle. The exercise and the calorie deficit is the thing that will help you lose fat. The thing that will help you build lean muscle is making sure that you're not in too steep of a calorie deficit, making sure you're consuming that 0.73 grams of protein per pound of body weight, and doing your resistance training. Because if you're just in a calorie deficit and you're doing cardiovascular exercise and no resistance training and no emphasis on the protein, you will lose weight. But a lot of that weight that you will lose will be fat and muscle, which is why most people end up looking skinny, fat, and pudgy at the end. And I don't think that's anyone's outcome to look skinny, fat, and pudgy at the end. Most people still look more lean and more toned and more muscular. And so those are the only four things that really need to happen. Actually, three. So, right, make sure you hit your protein, your calorie deficit, and make sure you're doing some form of resistance training. It's that simple and it's that boring that most people don't do it because they think that it's more complex than that. And for the people that it's a great question. What do you mean by skinny fat? Um, the best example is if you're in a t-shirt, you look skinny, and if you're without a shirt, you look fat. I think that's the most respectful way to put it. You look fat without a shirt, you look skinny with a t-shirt on. That's kind of how I grew up is skinny fat. So meaning that there's not a lot of lean muscle mass and there's a higher body fat percentage for the weight ratio that you have. And so most people, again, especially as you get older, having more lean muscle mass is helpful. I'm not talking to look like Arnold, but I'm talking to have enough lean muscle mass for you to be able to move your body throughout the day without it being a limitation. So if you're able to do a pull up, a push up, go on a hike with your kids or your grandkids, like you want to be able to live an active lifestyle. Again, nothing extraordinary, but where your body is not a limitation to you living your best life. To me, that's what being fit is. That's what being a fit vegan is. You can go on a hike with your kids and your grandkids. You can go for a jog, for a run if you want to. You're able to do a pull up. We have members in their 50s and their 60s, women doing at least one pull up, a clean one, being able to do push ups. So it's something you progress towards, but it just kind of gives you a baseline of if ever you're stuck, you have to push a door, you have to lift something in the house, you won't injure yourself because your body's able to handle it. All right. So That's for the protein. Now, how to actually stay in a calorie deficit. This is a big topic because a lot of people um, either don't want to track their food, don't want to follow a meal plan, or don't want to have any form of guideline. And so, for you to kind of estimate if you're in a calorie deficit is near impossible. I've been in the fitness space for almost 19 years now. It's 19 years. And I can look at food and have a good ballpark idea of how many calories are in a dish. But then when we actually identify the number of calories that are in that dish, I'm off by a few hundred calories. So you can imagine that if I've been doing it for 19 years and I'm off by a few hundred calories on the meal, multiple meals a day, you might just be canceling out your deficit, right? And so this is just a funny meme that I saw online, but people underestimate their portion sizes, right? Some people want to treat themselves and have a little like, scoop of vegan ice cream or whatever it may be. But when they look at the portion sizes, what they took as a portion was actually like 2, 3 portions of what's on the tub. Untracked cheat meals. A lot of people, I've had clients, we've given them a meal plan and like, I'm not losing weight. I'm like, well, what are you eating? It's like, well, what's on the meal plan? And I snack on nuts here and there. I'm like, okay, how much nuts? Like, I grab a handful. Like, you have a big hand. And so we just calculate for fun. It's like, grab a handful how you would normally would. Let's weigh it for fun. Each handful was 200 calories, and they would do that throughout the day. That would cancel out your calorie deficit really quickly. All right. Overestimated activity. If you have a Garmin and Apple Watch, any of those fitness trackers, there's studies that have shown that they're 60 to 120% off on the calorie count. They are not accurate. Never make decisions based off the calories that your watch tells you that you are burning, because it's completely off. Alcohol, extremely high in calories. I don't know if people would drink listening to this if you're in a plant-based mood, but if you are, it's 7 calories per gram of alcohol. So just to put it into that context, 1 gram of protein is 4 calories, 1 gram of carb is 4 calories, 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, and alcohol is 7. So it's almost as close as if you drink a glass of alcohol, it's almost like eating a bunch of peanut butter, basically. And people don't track on the weekend as well. They think that somehow the weekend is magical and it won't count towards their food because they did good all week. You can 100% destroy the progress you've made in 5 days during the week on the weekend very easily, right? So you just want to be aware of your food. Now, there's different ways to stay in a calorie deficit. One of them is you can use an app like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer and track your food. On a personal note, I've been doing this for 19 years. So literally for me, it takes me 5 minutes per day. It's very easy to do. It's a no-brainer. It's not a stress for me. Some people don't like to track their food. So another way is to get a meal plan or make a meal plan for yourself by tracking upfront and sticking to it. So what I mean by that is you can identify your calories and the protein by what we just shared about. You can go into MyFitnessPal and you can like make yourself your ideal breakfast that you enjoy. So let's just say we'll keep it simple, oatmeal. I want some oatmeal with maybe some half a block of soft tofu and some cacao and some berries. I know it sounds weird to put oatmeal and soft tofu together, but it's actually pretty good. I learned that when I was living in Mexico. It actually adds to the volume and you don't even taste it. And so just say that's your breakfast. And for your lunch, you want to have a Buddha bowl. You want to have a smoothie in the afternoon after your gym session. And then for dinner, you want to make yourself a stir fry or whatever it may be. So you can make yourself a mock day and track your calories and your protein to make sure that you're where you're supposed to be. And that can become your model every day. So what you can do is instead of having a cup of quinoa, you can have a cup of rice. Instead of having white potato, you can have a sweet potato. So you can make those variations on a day-to-day basis, but you just need to do the work up front to build yourself a meal plan and then use that as a guideline every single day. That way you don't have to track your food. You just have to make substitutions with the portions of what you already pre-created. So that's an easy way to not have to track your food every single day and kind of build yourself a little guideline for it. And then the third one is to use those two methods together. And so you can make yourself a meal plan for yourself or get a meal plan for yourself. And then on days where you didn't have time to kind of meal prep or you're traveling and you just want to use MyFitnessPal to track your food, then you can just do that. So use a combination of those two methods. But ultimately, if you don't track to some capacity with a meal plan or a makeup meal plan or tracking your food, you won't know for sure you're in a deficit. And I promise you, majority of people are either severely overestimating their calorie or severely underestimating their calorie. I know I'm talking a lot about people that are overeating, but there's a lot of people that are severely undereating with their nutrition, and that is an issue as well, which we'll talk about shortly with reverse dieting. Now, one example that I gave here is how to actually stay in a deficit. It's the same with money. How do you ensure you don't get into debt, right? You don't spend more than you make. So you set a budget for your finances and you track your expenses. It's the same thing. It's just the majority of people are going around and spending with an unlimited credit card without ever looking at their bank account. That's the same thing that people are doing with food. They're just kind of going around and kind of eating food and not having any awareness of what's in their bank account and how much they're actually spending. So you don't know if you're in a calorie deficit. You don't know if you're in a calorie surplus. You kind of have no idea where you're at. And so it makes it hard to make progression, right? Majority of people here are in a position where they're looking to buy a house or they've bought a house. What did you when you want to buy a house? You set a budget, you put money aside so you can do down deposit on the house, right? Same thing here. Again, you're not going to set money aside forever to buy a house. Once you buy the house, you have other priorities and other goals. It's the same thing here. You're not going to be in a body recomposition phase for the rest of your life. But for a certain period of time, we're going to kind of have that little budget mentality so that we can get to the goal that you want. Once we do, then it's a different goal. Then it's a different game. And so just understand that this is not a forever thing. It is a for now thing while you reach your goal. Now, what's going to happen when you make your initial calorie deficit is your body will work really hard on getting adjusted to doing the exercise on less food. Okay. And so that's basically your metabolism will slow down, will adjust, and you're going to plateau. So you're not going to make as much progression in your body recomposition phase. So it's important to make necessary adjustments as you progress along. So one of the ways is if you don't have a coach and you do it on your own, here's what you're going to do. You're only going to make a change when you're 100% compliant with your training and nutrition and your weight isn't moving. Because if you've built yourself a little structure or you're on a plan and a workout plan and you haven't been doing it for a while and you're not losing weight, well, changing the plan won't do anything because we haven't even stuck to the first plan yet, right? The body hasn't even adjusted to the first plan. So make sure that you're actually consistent for at least, 4 weeks with your current plan of training nutrition. If your weight isn't moving, then that's when you're going to make adjustments. Don't make adjustments because if you remove an additional 200 calories, it means nothing because you already didn't stick to the first initial calorie deficit. So once you're compliant and your weight isn't moving, what you're going to do, you're going to recalculate your maintenance calorie with the equation and the link I gave you earlier. And you're going to create the same deficit as the start because your body changed. So let's just say you start off and you weigh 200 pounds. And then you set your calorie deficit, your resistance training, your protein, and then you lose 20 pounds. Well, and then your body starts to plateau there. Well, guess what? Your body now has different needs because you're 20 pounds lighter. So with that new number, once your weight is stuck, you're going to go back in like, hey, I'm the same height, ideally around the same age, right? But you're 20 pounds lighter and you're exercising X amount of time. It'll give you a new number. Then from that new number, you're gonna remove the initial calorie deficit that you set the first time. So if you remove 300, just remove 300 and just progress from there. Every time you're compliant, your weight isn't moving, recalculate because the lighter you get, the more your calorie changes, your calorie requirements are changing because you are lighter, you're carrying less weight around. Hope that makes sense. Now, reverse dieting, I'm not going to go too in depth on that simply because I'm going to be doing another full training of this on July 10th, I believe, right, for Plant Powered Passport. But roughly what that is you need to speed up your metabolism post transformation to help you be able to eat more food while keeping the weight off. And I'm not going to say more. I'm just leave the suspense there for the next training because we'll be able to go more in depth. Just that in of itself is a pretty long presentation. But basically, we want to go from the left side, which is your metabolism at the end of a fat loss phase, to the right side where you have a raging metabolism and you're able to eat a ton of food to maintain a 20, 40, 60, 80, 100-pound fat loss. That's how you actually keep the weight off. And if you don't do that after your fat loss phase, you'll end up like most people in North America, which is over 95% of people put the weight back on within 6 months to a year, meaning your body recomp phase, your fat loss phase was completely worthless because you're going to put all the weight back on. You need to do this process. So stay tuned for July, I believe 10th for the next training. Perfect. Now, how to structure your day to hit your protein goal. So I know that's a problem that a lot of people have when they're eating whole food plant-based and they're looking to stay within their calories, but also hit their daily protein goal to help them shift their body composition and build lean muscle. So I did this training recently and people really liked it. So I put in this presentation. So hopefully it serves you as well. So I eat 3 meals minimum a day, but build it around a plant protein. So a lot of people in the whole food plant-based movement, they're going to tell you eat as much as you want as long as it's whole food plant-based. If I do that, I'm gonna put on a bunch of fat because guess what? I love mango. I love dragon fruit. I love dates. I love sweet potatoes with some almond butter and some cinnamon on top of it. And I can eat a ton of it, way more than I'm burning per day. And so you need to have some type of structure. That's why I'm saying the calorie deficit, right? I had Dr. Neil Barnard on my show when we talked about this. We can't redefine the laws of thermodynamics. You need to be in a deficit to lose weight. If you're in a calorie surplus, you're going to put on weight. If you're in a calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. He agreed with me. So I have this backing there. So you want to build your meal around plant protein. So instead of going and putting a bunch of vegetables and carbohydrates and then protein at the end, we want to put the protein first and then build a meal around that. So here's an example of what that looks like. Breakfast, you can have 1 scoop of plant protein, right? An example, you can have sprouted oats if you want to. A cup of sprouted oats, about 18 grams of protein. So there's different sources of protein. This is just an example. For lunch, we'd have 1 block of tofu or tempeh, and dinner, 1 cup of bean minimum. So it could be a bean, lentil, chickpea, whatever it may be, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to build around those meals. So that means for breakfast, if you don't have a scoop of plant protein, you can do overnight oats, you can do oatmeal, you can do a smoothie. So I mean, you're going to add other ingredients. So if you add oatmeal to your oatmeal with plant protein powder, you're probably going to add another like 5 to 10 grams of protein from the oatmeal. You can maybe add a little bit of chia seeds or some flax seeds or some hemp seeds or a little bit of, almond butter. You can add some berries. All those ingredients contain protein. For lunch, same thing. You're gonna have a block of tofu or a block of tempeh as the center of the dish, and you're gonna build around it. So instead of having a meal where you have 3 sweet potatoes and a bunch of vegetables and a little bit of tofu, you're going to have 1 block of tofu, maybe 1 sweet potato, and a bunch of vegetables. So by prioritizing the protein in your dish, it's kind of like prioritizing your mortgage payment. You get your budget of money every single month. You have to pay your mortgage payment. You always put money aside for it, right? No one leaves that as the last thing. And then you live off what's the rest for your other bills and your other things you want to do. Same thing here. Your protein on the meal is your mortgage payment. You prioritize it first and then you build around it. You do with the amount of calories you have left. And then for dinner, at least minimum 1 cup of bean. It could be chickpea, it could be lentils, green peas, whatever it may be. And you're going to build, you can add some quinoa, you can add some teff, you can add some farro, you can add some sauteed Brussels sprouts, whatever it may be. So by adding those other ingredients, you're able to add more plant-based protein. So an example I did in the training is I did actually a calculation of it. So if you have 1 scoop of plant protein, 1 block of tofu, 1 cup of bean, and you add like a quinoa or a rice or something to the bean and like a sweet potato to the tofu and oatmeal with other ingredients, we brought the number of protein because this is about 40, this would be about like 65, this would be another like 10. So you're looking at about like 75 to 80 grams of protein just with these 3 ingredients. And if you added other ingredients around it, the total amount we went up to was about 120 grams of protein and it was under 1400 calories. So this goes to show that you can easily hit that amount of protein with a lower amount of calories. Not saying that any of you should be there, do your own calculations, but build your meal around it to make sure that you do get it. If not, you're going to end up looking more skinny, fat, and soft at the end of your transformation. Now, so you can take a photo of this. I made a list of high plant-based protein foods. Those are based off 100 calorie servings. It's just something that we had for our clients. I just decided to put it in there for you. So you can see 110 grams of tofu extra firm is 10 grams of protein. Tofu firm, 120 grams, 10 grams of protein. So feel free to take a photo of this and you can use this as inspiration when you're making a dish. All right. So any questions about optimizing nutrition for body recomposition before we move into the fitness side, right? If you have some, let us know in the comment section below. And we can answer them now or a little bit at the end. Okay, Paul asked, uh, is a daily hot sauna session for 20 minutes beneficial? Absolutely. There's been so many studies on that. Or do you need alternating? Kelly asks, is hot cold, which is better? Honestly, both are great. There's been a lot of studies on the sauna side on doing warm temperature things. And so there's definitely a benefit to doing hot sauna daily ultimately, but there is a benefit to combining both of them, especially if you do them back to back because you're forcing the blood flow to move around the body. Like I mentioned, when you go cold, it goes more around your organs. Because it's trying to protect them. And then when you're warm, it goes back on the outside because it doesn't want to be too hot and overheat. So there's a benefit to doing both. But ultimately, if you just do them throughout the week, you'll get great benefits from it. So I wouldn't be too worried about like what is the most optimal thing. Do what you can be consistent with. So if you can do some form of cold exposure, some form of hot exposure, that's going to be amazing for you. One more, I'll put it on the screen. Okay, perfect. one block of tofu is how many ounces? Honestly, that's very much going to depend on the brand that you buy and where you live in the world. Because when I live in Mexico, the boxes are shaped different. When I was in Europe, it's a little bit different than the ones we have in the United States here. When I was in Canada, it's a different company, so they make different sizes for all of them. But I don't know what it is in ounces, but it's like 400 grams or 450 grams of tofu for a block, at least for the ones that I have at home that I buy from Costco. And so, yeah, just kind of look at the brand that you're going to use. That's the best answer. Which tracking method would you suggest for a person who is just getting started with creating a calorie deficit, create their own meal plan with the real numbers, or tracking with an app? If you're just getting started, I would say track with an app like MyFitnessPal, because it it kind of wakes you up to the reality of how much calorie slash energy is in the food. So just for fun, I would tell you, Kelly, if you're just getting started, track a day in the app. I would use MyFitnessPal. You have to pay to scan things, so maybe just use chronometer if you want to. But I would say track a 3 days in a row of food that you eat on a day-to-day basis. Right? Don't try to change how you eat, just to really see where you're at, and then you might be surprised. You might be exactly where you're supposed to be, or you might be way over, or you might be way under. If you're way under, I would say you need to reverse diet first. If you're way over, then you can kind of start with going to maintenance calorie and then creating your deficit. But tracking gives you an idea. When you look at food, you'll be like, whoa, that's 100 calories. This is so small. Oh, wow, this is only 50 calories and I can have all of this food. You'll notice that when you're eating more whole food plant based, you get a ton of volume for a smaller amount of calories. When you eat foods that have been a bit more processed, you'll get a lot less volume and it'll be more calorie dense. So I think tracking is great because it puts it into your awareness of like, oh, this is what 100 calories looks like. This is what 200 calories looks like, and you can have an understanding of like why you've been off track or why you've been on track. So hopefully that answers your question. If there's any more, Brian, you can just pop them on the screen as I'm doing the fitness thing. Like I can definitely can just answer them here. Awesome. So let's move into resistance training for more lean muscle. All right. So again, me, my incredible mom here did a home workout when I visited her in Canada. My mom's never been in shape like this. I'm so proud of her. Okay. How many days should you do strength training and why? So at a minimum, you should do 3 and a max of 5 so you can recover. So when you're newer to fitness, you want to start with the lower amount because you have something called, we just call it newbie gains, because your body's not used to exercising yet. You're going to get more results from exercising in general. So there's no need to overload your schedule with it. So at a minimum, 3 times, max of 5 times. I personally have been working out for 19 years. I do about 4 strength training sessions a week. To me, 5 is too much. It's really hard on your central nervous system, and I'm too tired if I do 5, even though I eat whole food plant based and I sleep well and I do all of these things. So to me, four is enough. I like to grab my other days to do other fun things. So minimum 3, max of 5. But again, start with what is sustainable, because some of you are really eager, like, no, I'm more is better. I'm gonna do 5. If you burn out and you're tired and you stop working out, you're gonna regress. So it's much better for you to do 3 and stay consistent with it for a year than do 5 for 4 months and then quit on it. Right. Now, yeah, basically this point here. Pick what you can stick with. That's the secret. There's no secret formula. 3, 4, 5 is better than anything else. I like 4 because it's enough for me to go in the gym and have fun. 5, I'm too tired. 3, it's not enough strength training for me. I like more than that. So pick something that you know you can be consistent with. All right. Now, they're all efficient. Consistency is what matters. Now, what's the ratio of resistance training to cardio? Right. So we use cardiovascular exercise. I call it hard training sometimes because some people have a negative association with cardio. So the secret answer is whatever you can be consistent with. Right. There's nothing that's optimal, but what's realistic, because it doesn't matter what's optimal. If you are a single parent with 3 kids and you're working a full-time job, you're not going to be able to stick to what's optimal. But are you going to be able to get healthier and fitter and get amazing results if you do 3 sessions of 20 minutes of resistance training and you just focus on getting your steps every single day? Absolutely. And so again, doing what's realistic. I got to put it this way. I work for myself, I control my schedule, and I can't even do what's the most optimal thing because I still have a lot of obligations with what I do. And so what's optimal is if you're training like an Olympic athlete, right? Most people couldn't live that way, and you don't want to live that way, to be honest with you. It's pretty boring. So do what you can be consistent with, minimum 3 resistance training per week. So if all you have right now currently is 3 slots a week where you can do some resistance, you can do a workout, do 3 resistance training. If ever a fourth day opens up, add a cardiovascular day, right? But for now, just stick to 3 resistance training. It's going to give you the most bang for your buck in terms of your effort. Okay. And walking doesn't count for your cardio, right? Um, unless you are walking a really steep hill and your heart rate is really high up there. But cardio is something, you have a little sweat going, you potentially have a little bit of a harder time maintaining a conversation. That's what we want it to be. Okay. So your cardio should be a minimum of 30 minutes per week to get started. So again, you can walk up a hill, you can walk on a treadmill, you can do things like that. So I'm going to zoom in on this really quickly. So those are different zones. So it'd be like zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5. This is just a different graphic. You want to be in that light to moderate uh, zone of activity. So about going about 60 to 80% of your cardio. So this is very light, as you can absolutely maintain a normal conversation like you and I are having now. Light is you can maintain a conversation, but you kind of need to take some pauses to breathe. Moderate is you're having a conversation, but you gotta pause from time to time to be able to take your breath. Hard, which would be zone 4, is you're you're running really fast. You're not full on sprinting yet, but you're running really fast where it's hard to maintain a conversation. And maximum is there's a line behind you and you absolutely cannot talk because you're sprinting for your life. So just to kind of give you a sensation for each of them. So you want to be between the light and moderate ultimately. All right. So ideally you're doing 30 minutes minimum a week. But again, if all you have is 3 slots to do a workout, start with resistance training. It'll give you the biggest bang for your buck. And especially if you're starting to work out, it might be a little bit of cardio for you to start resistance training, to be honest with you, because you're just starting to get in shape. Now, what's the ratio of resistance training to cardio? So let's go back here. So cardio is meant to be a tool to induce a more calorie deficit and not the main tool to lose weight. Okay. Because, like I said, the resistance training is the thing that's going to build your body. We're going to build the muscle, and the nutrition and the cardio is the thing that's going to reveal your body. So, nutrition and cardio is the thing that's going to make you lose fat. The resistance training and the nutrition as well is the thing that's going to build the muscle so that when they start to overlap, you start to see more muscle. Your shoulders start to get round. You start to see a little bicep bump, like my wife likes to call it. You start to see more muscle in your legs, more definition in your body, more definition in your stomach and your back, and all of these things. And so nutrition and cardio reveals it. Nutrition and resistance training builds the body. Because a lot of people, when they start a transformation, they just do cardio and you go to calorie deficit and don't focus on the protein, and they lose all the weight and they go like, man, I thought I had more muscle than this under all of it. They end up really, really skinny and scrawny. And so I want that when we reveal what's under, we've had the opportunity to build more lean muscle. Because when you have that, especially when you're getting older, it reduces your risk of injury. You feel fitter, you feel stronger. You're going to be able to enjoy the later years in your life. All right. So last notes on cardio. Walking is not cardio unless you're heavily overweight and walking is challenging. All right. Cardio doesn't have to suck. Pick something that you like to do. So, for example, like cycling, swimming, jogging, playing soccer, pickleball, whatever it may be. Like, it doesn't have to suck. I don't like running, but I'll play basketball where I have to run, but it's in a different context. So, you don't have to do a form of cardio you don't enjoy. Pick something that you enjoy. And cardio is important. Again, you can have a beautiful body to be super fit and trim, but if your heart gives out, you're still going to die. So cardio is meant to work your heart. Yes, it is a tool to induce more fat loss, but it's also there to keep you healthy for a long time, right? You can have a six pack and the best butt and the best arms, but if your heart gives out, you still die. Now, let's get into the technical stuff of building a workout. How many sets and how many reps should you do? So a set in rep, a rep is the amount of repetition you're going to be doing. For example, on a squat, you do like 15 repetitions. Sets is how many times you're going to do that round of repetitions, right? So you should start off with about 3 sets at first. All right. Lower the weight if you can't complete all 3 rounds. And maximum you go up to 5 sets. Because for the majority of you, you're just looking to improve your body composition, build some lean muscle. We're not looking to, do an Ironman or to become a bodybuilder or anything like that. So 3 sets to get started, max of 5 as you progress along. Now, No supersets or circuit training. The reason being is when you're doing supersets and circuit training, it's more of a cardiovascular thing. It's a little bit of musculature, but it's more cardiovascular. What you're doing when you're doing pure resistance training, so like a set of, for example, 3 sets of 15 squats. That first set of 15 squat, a little bit challenging. Second set, a little bit more challenging. That third set should be ultimately unbearable. Those last few reps that you're going to be doing should be really challenging. And so when you're doing an exercise, you're doing 15 reps, resting, doing it again, resting, doing it again, you're pre exhausting the muscle because you're going to get the most growth and the most results out of those last few reps on that last set. So the first few ones are just there to tire you out so you get to push yourself at the end. And you don't get that when you do a superset in a circuit because it's more of a cardiovascular thing. It's harder on the heart, but the muscle won't be challenged as much. And a lot of our clients are, again, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. We're used to doing supersets in classes and circuits. And we shift them to this model of like pre-exhausting the muscle and really pushing in those last ones. And that's when their bone density started going up. That's when they started building more lean muscle, started feeling stronger, they start having less injuries. And so there's a benefit to not doing the circuit in the supersets. There's a place for it down the road, but initially you want to start with just pure 3 sets and doing your reps. I would want, especially if you're new or you're getting back into resistance training, doing 15 to 20 repetitions. And then you can work your way down from there every 8 weeks. I'll give you a structure shortly as to like when to change your reps. But the reason why I want you to start with 15 to 20 repetitions is because a lot of people in their 60s that we work with, like, I read online that I need to lift heavier weights because it's better for my bones. And then they go into the gym and they try to do 6 to 8 repetitions of a heavy weight, and then they injure themselves because they've never exercised like that before. Their body's not coordinated. There's no mind muscle connection. And so a lot of people that haven't exercised for a long time, you ask them to do a squat, they're going to go down and their legs going to be all wonky. They don't know what to do with their back. They don't have the right form. And so when you exercise with 15 to 20 reps, it forces you to grab a lighter weight to be able to do that many repetitions. And what it does, it helps you build that mind muscle connection. Your body starts to understand, okay, my glutes, my hamstring, all my back, everything needs to fire this way to be able to do these movement as efficiently as possible. Because you're grabbing lighter weight, less risk of injury. You're also able to get feedback on your form. And then once your body is used to the movement, then we can go lower on the reps, which ultimately is going to force you to go heavier with the weights because you're doing less reps. You need more weights for it to be challenging, right? But we want to change that every 8 weeks. So when you start at least 8 weeks of 15 to 20 repetitions per exercise for your sets, that'll help you build that mind muscle connection, that coordination in your body, which will make it safer for you to exercise, right? And then your workout should change about every 4 to 6 weeks. Again, building a workout program and personal training is challenging, right? There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm trying to give you all the information up front. So you should change your workout every 4 to 6 weeks. I'm just trying to be mindful of the time here. So you change your workout every 4 to 6 weeks just because your body will get accustomed to what it's doing and it will start to plateau over time. That's the reason why if you've been doing the same workout for a long time, you don't see a lot of progression in your fitness and your transformation. Your body is used to the stressor that you've been asking of it. And so it needs to change. Your body, every time you give your body a workout, the first few weeks, your body will be like, oh, this is really hard. And then by the 4th week, it'll be like, I got this. That's why you need to change your workout ultimately. So, how many sets and how many reps should you be doing? Here's a guideline for you. You can take a photo of this. So, week 1 to week 4, if you're doing 3 resistance training per week, you should be doing sets of 3 sets and then 15 to 20 repetitions per exercise, right? Week 2 to 8, same thing. But it's going to be workout 1 for week 1 to week 4. And in week 2 to 8, it's going to be workout 2. So you should change your workout. Workout 1, workout 2, workout 3, workout 4. So you change your workout every 4 weeks, which is what we do for our clients because your body, like I mentioned, plateaus. But for the first 2 months, you basically want to stick 15 to 20 reps. And then you're going to go down to 8 to 12, and then 6 to 8, and then 4 to 6. And once you complete that cycle, you're going to revert back through it, right? So the goal is not to exercise and lose the weight and stop. The goal is to do this for the rest of your life. So you can literally repeat the cycle for the rest of your life unless you have a different goal that is not shifting your body composition. All right. The reps decrease. Oh, great question, Glenn. The reps decrease over time because we want to challenge the muscle in a different way. So when you work, there's different types of muscle fiber in the body. So 15 to 20 repetition is more of that muscular endurance type of muscle fiber. So it allows you to go for a long time. So think of doing a 10-mile hike, for example. That 8 to 12 rep range is more muscular hypertrophy. That's what bodybuilders will train in. That more has to do with the size of the muscle. When you're doing that 6 to 8 rep range, it's more of strength, right? So it's more strength in terms of you need to lift a heavy box and put it in the back of your car. We had one of our clients in her 60s. She was able to pick up her 60-pound dog and put in the back of her truck. That's more strength. Is you're going to be able to lift heavier things less often, but you'll be able to have that strength lift those heavier things. And that 4 to 6 rep will be a little bit more power. So you have a little bit more of that explosiveness while you're lifting it. So you're not lifting it as slowly. But the thing is, as you play with all these rep ranges, the heavier you go, the more weight you're putting on your bones. And that's really powerful because you're helping strengthen your bones as you go heavier. So the more stress you put on the bone, the stronger it will become. But again, we don't do that in one go, right? So we're slowly going to work our way down from 15 to 20, 8 to 12, 6 to 8, 4 to 6. But because your body has become accustomed to the movement, it's become a lot safer at that point. So hopefully that answers the question. Now, a little disclaimer, those are general guidelines to improve your body composition, and they won't train you specifically for a performance-driven outcome. So if your goal is to run faster, do a triathlon, whatever it may be, this is not for that. This is if you're simply looking to build lean muscle, strengthen your bones, and improve your body composition, right? Now, what workout split should you follow? I'll give you a few examples. So workout splits are dependent on the amount of days you have available to work out. So if you can work out 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. So just a few examples here. Again, depends on what you can do sustainably. So if you only have 3 days a week, you do 3 workouts of full body. Those are just examples of day. You can do them on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday if you want to. But full body workout 3 times a week if you only have 3 times available. If you have 4 times a week, you can do upper body, lower body, rest, upper body, lower body. Personally, what I do, if you have 5 days a week available and you're a little bit more advanced of a lifter, you can do upper body, lower body, rest, push, pull, legs, rest. All right. So just kind of different scenarios depending on the amount of days you have available. Again, they all work great. It's just whatever you can be consistent with and where you're at in your lifting journey. In terms of exercise, what should you focus on? So you should focus on compound exercises, especially if you're first getting started. So I'm just going to zoom in on this right here. So on the left side, those are compound movements. So compound movements are multi-jointed exercise. So if you look at a deadlift, for example, your knees are involved and your hips are involved. A bent over row, you're going to have your elbows and your shoulder. A pull-up, same thing, elbow, shoulder. Overhead press, elbow, shoulder. Squat, hips and knees. Bench, elbows and shoulders. If you think of a bicep curl, it's only the elbow that's involved. There's no movement in the shoulder, right? It's just the bicep. So an isolation exercise is where you're isolating a specific muscle, like a bicep curl, a tricep push down, a lateral raise, where you're isolating the muscle with one joint movement. Compound is more beneficial, especially when you're first getting started, because it allows you to work your body as an overall. So when you're doing a deadlift, yes, you're working your back, but you're also working your glutes, which is your butt, and your hamstring, which is the muscle behind your leg, right? When you're doing a pull-up, yes, you're working your back, but you're also working your biceps as well. As you're pulling yourself up, you're also working on your forearm and your grip. And so this compound movement will give you the best bang for your buck in terms of effort and time put into the exercise. And so you should focus on compound movements. So here's a little structure that I like to follow. Start with at least 2 to 3 compound movements for a workout, and then follow it up by 3 to 4 isolation movements. So for example, you can do a leg workout where you can start off and you can do squats as a compound movement and then leg press as a compound movement. Again, squats, 3 sets, 3 rounds of 15 repetitions, and then leg press, 3 rounds of 15 repetitions. And you can go into isolation movements. You can go into a leg curl, hamstring leg curl. Again, 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions. Then you can move into a leg extension, which would be another, which is right beside another isolation exercise, and then a calf raise right here. Again, each 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetitions. So you can build a workout like that. It's that easy to kind of put together. So how to perform exercise safely and effectively. Again, I'll give you guys a little workout shortly. Again, at any age, which is really important. What I did is I filmed 101 exercise videos that show you how to do the exercises safely and effectively, because I figured that when I give these talks, it'd be really hard for me to show every single exercise. So I recorded 101 of them. And so you can have access to them here. If you just scan this QR code that's on the screen, you will be able to access it. If you are watching from your phone, if you just go to my YouTube channel, Maxime Sigouin, It's a part of the playlist on my homepage. It's called Fit Vegan Exercises, and there's 101 in there. So if you want a warm up routine for beginner, advanced, whatever it may be, if you want to know how to do a squat, a deadlift, a bench press, there's variations to do the exercise at home or at the gym as well. A lot of home exercises. I'll explain in details what should your knees do, what should your hips do, how should your elbows move, what should you do with your back, what should you do with your breathing. It's all broken down into detail. So I'm giving that for you for free. So scan this or just go to the YouTube channel. Um, Another thing is how to know if you're working out hard enough, and how to not get injured as you're working out. So big thing is to always focus on keeping the right form. Okay. So never give up your form to lift a heavier weight. You have videos that I just gave you access to that'll tell you how to have the right form. The second thing is the resistance should be enough so that you can't do more than the rep range you're training in. So if you're going to start off, you can do 3 sets of 15 to 20 repetition. If you grab your weight and you're like, I can do 25 to 30 repetitions, it's too light. Go a little bit heavier. So you want to be able to fall within that rep range. And if you're failing within that rep range, you're in a good spot. Obviously, while keeping the good form. Right. So at the end of your last set, you should be 2 reps away from failure. So what that means, if you do 15 to 20 repetitions and you get to 20 and you're like, I can maybe do one more, but if I do a second one, it's going to fall on me, then you know that you've pushed hard enough. So again, keep the right form, fall within your rep range, and then your last few reps, you should be 2 reps away from failure at the end. For every that's a big one. Every exercise is hard. I've had clients come to me and be like, this workout is really easy. And then I meet with them in person and they do their squats. Like, this is so easy. And then I add 5 pounds, still easy, add 5 pounds, still easy. And I do that. And eventually 30 to 40 pounds in, they're like, whoa, this is really hard. I'm like, yes. So if the exercise is, every exercise is hard. There's not an exercise you can give me that I can't make harder by adding more resistance. If it's easy, add more resistance. If you don't have access to more resistance, do the exercise slowly. So let's just say just have a resistance band for a shoulder press, for example. Instead of just kind of banging it out and letting the elastic bring you down, try to take 10 seconds up and 10 seconds down. I promise you it's going to be hard, right? So you can add more weights or go slowly if you don't have access to more exercise. So example of a day and / week of workout. Again, I'm giving you one absolutely for free, 3 workouts a week, basically 25 minutes each. You can scan this QR code or you can click on this link here. Again, completely for free. You can go and try that out and get started with that. So I'll leave that there for like a few seconds in case there's any questions. So any questions about the resistance training for more lean muscle and building stronger bones? We'll wait in the chat to see if there's something. Okay, perfect. No questions in the chat. Awesome. So I'm just going to go to the last part. So I know I've shared a lot of things with you guys. One of the things I always like to mention is that is what we do for a living. So if you want our coaching team to take care of all that for you, because you're attending this training, you can book your free consultation call by going to the website right here, which I think Brian is gonna have on the screen. If you choose to work with us and it's a good fit, and you think that we would be able to help you, you receive a $150 Fit Vegan gift box shipped to your house and get 5% off of any of our program. We never do any discounts on any of our programs just because you have a full health team of a holistic nutritionist, a doctor, and personal trainer working on your transformation. So if something you're interested in, the next step is just basically to book your free consultation call. So here's everything that you get, right? We talk about nutrition today. So nutrition for body recomp mastery, fitness for body recomp mastery, mindset and healthy habit mastery, recovery mastery, world-class accountability, ebook and resources. Again, we know this worked because it's been done over 750 times from people ranging from 20. I think their oldest client would be 84 years old. So it works regardless of your age and your situation. And then, just last steps is you can book your free call. On the call, we'll do a little consultation process to see if we'd be able to help you and see what needs to happen, the thing that's been preventing you. And ultimately, you just get to transform your health from there. All right. Awesome. So let's do a big Q&A. I can stop sharing my screen so I can go back to the full screen here. Awesome. So guys, any question about what I just shared today? And I'm going to try to make this full screen on my side. I was able to almost respect the hour. All right, Glenn.
I just wanted to know how much time do you recommend, Max, between exercising and eating and exercising?
Yeah, so if you want, some people like to work out fasted in the morning just because it's more convenient. They don't want to like wake up and have to wait to digest to kind of go to the gym. You can definitely wake up and work out fasted. If you're not used to it, just give yourself a few weeks and your body will become accustomed to it. If you're training fasted, you ideally want to eat within like 30 minutes to an hour after you're done the gym, just because your body is looking for that fuel to recover. And the last meal it had was the night before, right? At your dinner, and you digested through that throughout the night of sleep. But if you're waking up and you want to eat food, I would say wait like 45 minutes to an hour before you go to the gym. If you eat before you go to the gym, 45 minutes to an hour before, and you do your training session, there's no rush for you to eat after because you have the food from before the training session to recover. So yeah, just like an hour, and depending on what you eat. If I have a big bowl of oatmeal, I can't eat too close to a gym session.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that was an amazing presentation, Maxim. Uh,
Thank you. I know Brian has
oh,
a question in here.
okay.
Uh, how do you keep your clients motivated and accountable? So we have multiple systems. So one of them is we message them. We can message them every day. They do have weekly check-ins with their coaches. We do have monthly one-on-one calls. We have 4 group calls per week that they can attend with health professionals. So they can have multiple daily check-ins and accountability. But the big one is we set the expectation with them from the start of like, hey, this is not a quick fix. We're going to work through this, and understanding that you have to be compassionate to yourself. And we have this thing called the pineapple protocol with our clients. It's more of it's a Kevin Hart joke that he said in one of his stand up. But basically, if they're stuck, a lot of the people that we work with are caregivers and have more of that caregiver energy. So they're usually the problem solver in their community. So everyone goes to them when they have issues, but they have no one to go to. And so they have a tendency that when there's a problem, they'll just kind of isolate themselves and trying to figure it out by themselves and come back out and be like, oh, it's okay. I dealt with it. But we tell people, if that's the case, like that's literally why we're here to help you. So they can just send us a little pineapple emoji or message us the word pineapple. And it's like the red alert button. I need help. So we know to go in and call them or message them and to be like, hey, how can we serve you? How can we help you? So we've put little systems like that in place.
All
Hope that answers
right.
your question, Brian.
Are there any other questions out there? I have one more, I know, which is this. Those pictures of your mother and the transformation your mother had in your coaching program were remarkable. But it
Yeah.
leads to this question. Did your mother get a discount?
My mom got it for free
Oh,
because she put me on this earth, but she also fed me when I grew up, and I'm 6'4" and I was 240 pounds. So I was eating a lot. So my mom more than paid for her share of
okay.
the program.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Max. And people can find you at fitvegancoaching.com, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else you want to say to our viewers?
Yeah, well, everyone, thank you very much for listening. And I do have the Fit Vegan podcast, which is why I kind of have this cool setup. So if you want to go listen to that on YouTube or audio, I did an awesome podcast with Glenn. Um, And lastly, it's something that I tell all my clients on our group call is everything I just shared with you is absolutely worthless and none of it is going to change your life unless you do something with the information. Like I literally gave you a free workout. I literally told you how to build your nutrition. I literally gave you a list of high protein foods. Like everything was given to you. So genuinely, if you grab these things and you do them, you'll see results. So if you've been stuck, the missing part is you taking action on the information that you have access to.
All right. Well, everyone who has joined the Passport will get a recording of this uh, presentation. And if you've already bought your Passport and you actually know somebody who hasn't bought a Passport, tell them about it. Go to plantpoweredpassport.com. Thanks again, Maxim.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. This has been the Glenn Mercer Show, where everyone listening turns vegan, regains their health, and annoys their friends and relatives. Find us on YouTube at The Glenn Mercer Show and across all your major podcast platforms. Don't forget to subscribe.